guys, I'm live. How you guys doing? I started some walk rant. Haven't done that in a while. I've been silent on my walks a lot because I've really been thinking and meditating and learning and growing, doing musical things in my head, making progress with my guitar technique and theory and musical ideas so much that I just haven't been vocalizing all that. I've just been kind of doing it by myself internally. But hey, what the hell, right? Why not do a walk rant once in a while? It's been like a month, since I've done one or something like that. Maybe 3 weeks, I don't know. But first of all, I'm going to redo the Cinderella trilogy. I can do better than that. Plus, I want to start with the ballad. That's been my pattern on all the others, and I don't want to break that. I want to start with "Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone," and then do Gypsy Road and Shake Me. I think that's not only more true to the pattern I've been doing, it feels better, and I just think I think that's what my MO has always been, to do the ballads first. Start with the soft stuff and then get harder as it goes. I tried to do it opposite that way in Cinderella, but I don't like it that way. Plus, I can do the songs better. So tonight / tomorrow morning, and whichever time of day that happens to be, I'm going to do a retake of the Cinderella trilogy, but start with "Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone," and then do the Gypsy Road and Shake Me. It'll just flow better for me. I don't flow into ballads well. I flow out of them. Let me get the ballad over with and let me rock, rather than let me rock. Now I got to slow down. I didn't like that flow. But Daily Roth made fun of Jimi Hendrix for saying that in Our Experience. But at first, Our Experience, and he would say "butter," making fun of Jimi Hendrix. David Lee Roth made fun of Jimi Hendrix, if you can believe that. No, okay. So there's that. That's the Cinderella trilogy I'm going to do tonight. And then I want to just talk about what's on my mind. Now, greatest rock bass player ever, Billy Sheehan, played with David Lee Roth and Steve Vai, said, "You got to know the rules before you can break them." He said that. He was referring to music, I think, but that's still a good, valid concept, no matter what topic or point you put it to. You got to know the rules before you can break them. Well, I have studied the Bible enough to know the rules of it. I got a feeling for the Bible. I got my head around it, if you can believe that. And let these cars go past, because you can't hear me very well, probably. I've got my head around the Bible. I know what it says. I know what's going on there, and now I can break it. I choose to break whatever the Bible says, break the rules, break whatever the Bible says. I know I had to learn the Bible first to know I can do that, though. I had to learn the Bible so I can reject it fully and completely and consciously and deliberately, not just dismissively, but deliberately. I know I don't like the Bible. I know I'm not a Christian. I know I don't serve God. And I know that all the more because I got my head around the Bible first. And now that I know the rules, I can break them, according to Billy Sheehan about the Bible, though. And that's a good point I'm in. And my advice to anyone that hasn't done that is take my advice if you can, number one, and just don't follow the Bible in the first place. I mean, take my advice. That's the best thing to do. But if you have to study it for yourself first, I get that. But make it it's very likely a round trip, because it was for me. I studied it only to find out I'd reject it. So, but I know what I'm rejecting, and I can reject it totally and completely and intentionally, because I know what it is that I'm rejecting, because I've got my head around it for reading it for some of the last 51 years or whatever. So there's that little bit of tidbit I wanted to throw in this walk rant. And third thing, I want to talk about the circle of fifths. Circle of fifths, and it applied to major and minor keys as well, to the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is maybe the untamed beast of music. People know all these scales, and they do all this talk about what they know, and they know chords and stuff, but the circle of fifths remains very elusive to guitarists and musicians, I think. I have a feeling, because it's just so complex. It just takes all your thought. It takes actual study. you can't just learn it quickly and go, well, I get that. Now leave me alone type of thing. You have to do your work. You have to study. The circle of fifths is intrusive. It's invasive. It's very difficult to get your head around. And I would like to work on that with you guys today. Just do some work with the circle of fifths, you know. My hair isn't shorter right now. It's just being blown back by the wind. So circle of fifths, it's just like it sounds. First of all, the fifth is the inversion of the fourth. The fifth is 7 half steps. The fourth is 5 half steps. At least the perfect fifth and the perfect fourth. Now, these, besides the semitone, which makes the chromatic scale if you stack them, or you could also stack major sevenths, which is just the inversion or complement, chromatic, or not chromatic, but the octave complement of the minor second or half step, major step. You can stack major sevenths as well, is what I'm saying, but that would still be just going down in chromatics, note-wise. It's just going up in major sevenths is the same as going down the chromatic scale, and going down in major sevenths is the same as going up the chromatic scales. It's a different way of voicing it is all. But there's the chromatic scale, and then there's circle of fifths. Are the only two ways of playing all 12 tones with a consistent interval and play all 12 tones. All the others are symmetric and break down into less than 12 tones. So if you look at it that way, it's no surprise that the chromatic scale, that the circle of fifths is tough, because it's besides the chromatic scale, it's the only entity in music that has all 12 notes in it. And that's daunting for almost anybody. But let's just do it. Let's just start to work on this. So, in major keys, and there's major keys and minor keys. Let's put it that way. There's white keys on the piano that have no sharps and flats, and that is the base key of C major, but also A minor. Those are equal. Not C major isn't better than A minor isn't better than C major. They're just different. They're both contained in the white notes of piano. Now, there's two ways of looking at doing the circle of fifths with major keys and minor keys. What are those two ways? Well, the first way is to do only major scales or keys around the circle of fifths, and then do only minor keys or scales around the circle of fifths. That's one approach. That's good, and that's great, and we'll do that first. The second approach is do a major scale and a minor scale on the same root, and then take each root up one at a time. So in other words, you do a major and a minor on the first key, and then you go up to the second key and do a major minor on that key. So you only go around the circle once, and you do the major and the minor as you go, doing the major and minor on the same note to each of the 12 notes, and go around only once as opposed to twice. And I think it's a little different approach to doing it each way. Not a lot, but a little bit. So let's do it. Let's start with major keys, and then let's start with and then do the minor keys, and then do a whole thing with major keys and minor keys at the same time. This is boring, I'm sorry, but if really anything is boring if you get down to nitty gritty, because the nitty gritty is boring. But anyway, so let's do major keys. C major is north. That's top. That's the top of the scale. That's the top of the circle. Now, incidentally, if you change modes, you make a different top. For instance, when we're going to do minor scales, A minor is the top, because A minor is the key of the white notes, which has no sharps or flats. Therefore, A minor is north, or top of the clock, as you might call it. But if you do Dorians, D would be 12 o'clock. If you do Phrygian, E would be 12 o'clock. If you do Lydian, F would be 12 o'clock. If you do mixed Lydian, G would be 12 o'clock. If you do Lydian, F would be, I think I've understood that. If Lydian, F would be at the top. If you do Locrian, B would be at the top. And I think that's all of them. My good memory is in place here. I think that's all of them. But we're going to do major, which is C, and minor, which is A. So A and C, only A and C are going to get to be at the top. Otherwise, I could put any note on top and have a different mode of that. I could say, love you. I could say, let's do Lydians and make F at the top, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do major keys and minor keys. So C is going to be at the top for the major keys, and A is going to be at the top for minor keys. So let's do some academic work ahead of us. I got so C major. C major is 12 o'clock, no sharps, no flats. One fifth. One step clockwise is up a fifth. Around the cycle of fifths is G major. That's one sharp. That would be F sharp. Next step is D major. That has two sharps. That's F sharp and C sharp. Next you have A major. That has three sharps. F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And then next is E major, which has four sharps, which is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. And then next is B major. That has five sharps, which is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. And then you have F sharp or G flat. Those are enharmonic equivalents of the next key around the circumference. It's a tritone away from C. So if you have F sharp, you have six sharps, and that's F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, A sharp, E sharp. That's F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. I think I did that right. Yeah. And if you call it G flat, that has six flats, and those six flats are B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. But both those are the same note, but they're spelled differently, so they have a different spelling as far as sharps and flats. And by the way, B, the key of B, which we just said had five sharps, could also be called C flat. C flat would have seven flats and would also be the same key as key of B, but just spelled differently. And this, of course, the seven flats in C flat are all the white notes. So you'd have B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and F flat. So there's that. Now the next step you're going to go to, you have let's see, let me think. You have D flat. So that has five flats. That's at 7 o'clock. That would be B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. But that could also be C sharp. And C sharp would have all seven sharps, which would be F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, B sharp, and D sharp. Again, same key, same note key as each other, but spelled differently, because C sharp and D flat are spelled differently, but same note. That's at 7 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock you have A flat major. That has four flats. That would be B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. Then at 9 o'clock, the next step, you have A, B, C, D, E flat, which would have three flats, which is B flat, E flat, and A flat. Then at 10 o'clock, you have B flat, which has two flats, which is B flat and E flat. And then at 11 o'clock, you have F, which has one flat, which is B flat, and then you're back around to C major. So all that, see, that's why the circle of fifths is tough, and people don't know it very well, because there's a lot of head work with it. It's not just simple, get it in one reading type of material. You got to really kind of know your shit, Yeah, that's major scales. Let's do the minors. So A minor, that's 12 o'clock, no sharps, no flats. And then at 1 o'clock is E minor, that's one sharp, which is F sharp. Then the next step is B minor, that's two sharps, which is F sharp and C sharp. Then you have F sharp minor, which is three sharps, which is F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And then the next step is C sharp minor, which has four sharps, which is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. Then you have C, D, F, G sharp. Then you have G sharp minor, which has five sharps, which is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and A sharp. But that G sharp minor can also be A flat minor, which would have seven flats. It would have all seven flats, which is B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and F flat. But now next step, you have the tritone position. You have D sharp minor. I'll start with that one. D sharp minor is 6 sharps. So that would have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. But that's the same note as E flat minor. And E flat minor would have 6 flats. So that'd be B flat, E flat, A flat, E flat, G flat, C flat, and C flat. Let me try that again. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. Yes. That would be the 6 flats in E flat minor. Okay, that's 6 o'clock. That's the tritone away from the A minor. Now, 7 o'clock is F minor. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Wait, no, I said 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is, let me think here. 7 o'clock is, let's see, G, A, B, C, wait, D, E, F, G, A, B flat minor. B flat minor. That's 7 o'clock. B flat minor has 5 flats. That would be B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and yes, and that B flat minor key is also the same as A sharp minor, and that would be 7 sharps, which is all 7 sharps, which is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and B sharp. Okay, finally we'd be at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is F minor. That has 4 flats: B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. Then you have, let me think here. Then you have, let me get this straight here. E, F, G, B, C, D, E, F. Wait. Flats. Wait, let me think. It was E flat, B flat. Oh yeah, I said F minor. Yeah. Then that means the next step is C minor, which has 3 flats, which is F, which is B flat, E flat, and A flat. Next position is at 10 o'clock. That's G minor. That has 2 flats, which is B flat and E flat. And then finally you have the 11 o'clock position is D minor, and that's 1 flat, which is B flat. And then you're back at A. No A minor, no sharps, no flats. So tricky navigating all that and getting it all straight in your head and talking. And I did all this without a guitar or without anything to write on or without a book. So to get it in your head where you can just sprout it out is a good thing. And then, of course, like I said, you can also do the drum circle fifths with both minor and major keys at the same time as you go around. I don't know if we want to bore you with that or not. I don't know, but like at the top would be C major and its relative minor A minor, and so forth. And then you would go, next step is G major or relative minor is E minor. The next step would be D major or the relative minor is B minor. Then you have A major or the relative minor is F sharp minor. And then E major or the relative minor is C sharp minor. Then you have, let's see, to figure this out here. Oh yeah, I get it. Then you have B major or the relative minor is G sharp minor. And then you have F sharp major or the relative minor is D sharp minor, or you have E flat major and the relative minor is would be E flat, yeah, G flat. You'd have G flat major or the relative minor would be E flat minor. So that would be 6 o'clock. I think that's where we are. So 6 o'clock. I'm make sure I did that right. Yes, I did. It's yeah. Now 7 o'clock would be D flat major or its relative minor, B flat minor. Then 8 o'clock would be A flat major or its relative minor, which is F minor. And then the next step at 9 o'clock would be E flat major or its relative minor, which would be C minor. And then 10 o'clock would be B flat major or its relative minor, G minor. And then 11 o'clock would be F major or its relative minor, D minor. And then finally we're back at 12 o'clock. Those sharps are flats, C major or its relative minor, A minor. I think I wasn't saying the number of sharps and flats at the end there, but it was, so I guess I got to do that partly again. Do I have to? The D flat major slash B flat minor is 5 flats. A flat major or F minor is 4 flats. E flat major or C minor is 3 flats. D flat major or G minor is 2 flats. F minor or D minor, no, F major or D minor is 1 flat, and then back to the top, C major or A minor is no sharps and no flats. That if I did that right, which I think I did, but then again, everybody can think they did something, but I think I did. That's a real brain twister. If you can actually get your head around that and be able to do that, it really, and then really understand it. Don't just read it out like you're reading it out of a book, but really get what you're doing. It's really the hardest thing in music theory. People don't talk about it. It's the thing that nobody wants to bring up because everyone's afraid they're going to drop the ball. They're going to fumble. They're going to mess it up because nobody knows the circle fifths that well. They know of it, but they don't know it. There's a difference. I know what that is, but don't ask me about it. Well, no, I know it, not just of it. Anyway, have a guys, peace out.